NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing. At a track where you feel it, hear it, and see it, unlike anywhere else.
Anybody that asks me when they're going to their first race, I'm sending them here.
This is the hottest ticket in NASCAR. Experience the thrills for yourself at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you. A little bit on the road today as I'm getting set to travel to Athens, Georgia for tonight's women's basketball game between Alabama and Georgia, but it is good to have you with us on what we know is still a momentous week for the University of Alabama and the Crimson Tide football program especially. We'll start our show by looking at our headlines and what's coming up thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. Let's see what's coming up, first of all, on the show. First, we'll be chatting Alabama football plus gymnastics with BamaCentral's Katie Windham, getting her thoughts on everything going on with the Crimson Tide, especially on the gymnastics front. And then we'll take a look back to the men's basketball game on Tuesday. The Crimson Tide had a dominant win against South Carolina. We'll look at our courtside cam highlights with Chris Stewart and Brian Passink. Speaking of Chris Stewart, he hosts Hey Coach, and he had a chance to catch up with Sam Walters, plus some members of the gymnastics program. We'll have those Hey Coach replays coming up before my conversation with Christy Curry after Alabama picked up a win against the Missouri Tigers. So a good conversation with Coach Curry is ahead here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We go into the headlines, though, with the shocking news that we learned yesterday. Well, it was Alabama head coach Nick Saban announcing his retirement after 17 seasons leading the Crimson Tide football program. You look at his 28 overall years as a college coach, 7 national championships, but specifically at Alabama, 6 national championships, 9 SEC titles. Remarkable. And he won his last 9 SEC championship games that he was coaching a team in, including the one we just saw in December against Georgia. Greg Byrne has already put out a statement on his social media talking about the next steps in this process, trying to figure out who will be the next head football coach for the University of Alabama. He listed exactly what he wants in the new coach. And he also said at the very end, something we've heard from Greg Byrne with all of the coaching searches that he's done in Alabama, most notably when you look at the hiring of Nate Oates or Rob Vaughn, Ashley Johnston with gymnastics. When you hear from Greg Byrne next, it will be at a podium introducing the new head football coach at Alabama. Again, very similar to what we've seen him do before with baseball, with men's basketball, with gymnastics, other sports on campus. That was what Greg Byrne announced yesterday as part of the news that Coach Saban is retiring. So we're going to have so much more reaction coming up next week. Hopefully, Alabama will have a coach in place by the next time we talk for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. But we will certainly cover that for you in full. And we'll be talking a lot about the legacy of Coach Saban coming up in the next few weeks as well, with some of his former players and people who knew him best, because this is a run that you have to celebrate. Yes, it's definitely sad that Coach Saban is walking away, but we wish him the best for him, his family, and everybody that's part of this Crimson Tide football program. We're just all grateful as well, sad and kind of grateful at the same time for what we have seen. Truly one of the most legendary eras in college football history, the Saban era, and it runs from 2007 to January 1st, 2024, coaching on the field for Alabama. And of course, January 10th, he announces his retirement as the head coach of the Crimson Tide. We go down to men's basketball. Alabama off to a really good start in conference play. The Crimson Tide 2-0 now in league play for the 4th time in a row. Alabama's been able to do that with remarkable consistency under Nate Oates. The wins against Vanderbilt and then South Carolina. The Crimson Tide were in a dogfight. It was kind of an ugly game in the first half against the Gamecocks on Tuesday, but then Alabama really pulled away. You see the final score, 74-47. Alabama outscored South Carolina 44-18 in the second half. Mark Sears leads the parade once again as he had 31 points for Alabama. He continues to be the top scorer in SEC basketball. Now the Crimson Tide gearing up for what will be a tough road trip coming up against Mississippi State on Saturday. You just saw the Bulldogs last night in Starkville upset 5th-ranked Tennessee, so you know they're going to give Alabama a really good game coming up Saturday at 7:30 in Starkville. Again, our radio coverage will start at 6:30 all across the network. Then to women's basketball, Christy Curry's team coming off a victory against Missouri, 79-64, the final score from Sunday. Now 3 straight wins at Mizzou Arena for the Crimson Tide, so that's become a good home away from home for Alabama women's basketball, maybe like Nashville had and Vanderbilt's Memorial Gym has become for men's basketball. Sarah Ashley Barker, Aaliyah Naya, 23 points each in that ball game to help push Alabama to that win. Now tonight, a bit of a homecoming for Sarah Ashley Barker as she started her career at the University of Georgia for 2 seasons. This will be the first time she plays in Stegman Coliseum as a member of the Crimson Tide. 6 p.m. the start time. Our radio coverage will start at 5:55 all across the network. Then finally, Alabama Gymnastics starting the season strong. A win at the Mean Girls Super 16 out in Las Vegas. Alabama was in session 4 and picked up the victory. Gabby Gladieux helping leading the way for the Crimson Tide as she was named the SEC Specialist of the Week. Now this week, Alabama at home for the first time under the arch roof of Coleman Coliseum against the Missouri Tigers. 6 p.m. will be the start time. Big Al's birthday, so the kids are going to have a lot of fun celebrating with Big Al. And if you can't make it to Coleman, it will be shown on the meet will be shown on the SEC network. So we certainly look forward to that coming up as well. Well, as we start our show today, we're going to be talking gymnastics with BamaCentral's Katie Windham. And also, we have some football conversation at the beginning. I do want to note that we recorded this interview with Katie Wednesday morning. So that was before the news came from Alabama that Coach Saban had announced his retirement. So just keep that in mind as we go forward with this interview here in just a few moments. But again, she's able to talk about the Alabama football season we just witnessed, plus what's ahead for Alabama gymnastics. So please welcome Katie Windham of BamaCentral to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Katie, Happy New Year. How has the last few weeks been covering the Rose Bowl, now back here at home in Alabama?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too, Roger. It's been a crazy couple weeks with the holidays and then going out to Pasadena for a week for just all the what Rose Bowl coverage and prep is, and then obviously not the ending Alabama wanted. So there was no trip out to Houston after, but then that just kind of kicked us right into full gear of covering winter sports here in Tuscaloosa with gymnastics starting up and basketball in the middle of the season. And, football news doesn't stop with portal news and draft announcements and coaching changes and things like that. So there's always stuff going on.
Absolutely. A fantastic year for the Crimson Tide in a lot of ways on the football field, winning the SEC championship. And also, I imagine for a writer, this was a fascinating season to cover because you had so many ups and so many downs with this football team all throughout the year.
Yeah, this is my third year on the beat. The most unusual year, I guess I'd say. I remember back in game 3 at USF, some of us were kind of joking in the press box that we might be back there for the Outback Bowl. It's not called that anymore, but whatever it's called, that would be the bowl game we'd be back at. And then look, we ended up at the Rose Bowl in January. So I guess the joke was on us. But yeah, just the turnaround of this team and, the way they were able to end Georgia's streak in the SEC championship game, knock off number 1, get in the playoff. And then, you look at what happened in the national championship game on Monday and the final score, I don't know, maybe it did indicate how much Michigan dominated Washington because they pulled ahead and then it was close for a little bit and then, had the touchdown at the end. But Alabama was a couple of minutes away from beating number 1 Michigan, beating a number 1 team for the second week in a row. And so it's remarkable what this team was able to do from week 2, week 3 to the end of the year. And I think there's a lot of pieces in place that they can build on for the next season, even with all the guys that are in the portal or going off to the NFL.
When you look back at this past season as well, any favorite feature stories you got to do for BamaCentral, maybe players you profiled or anything like that our fans should check out?
Yeah, I got to do a story. It was actually the Texas Week, kind of about the reach of Roll Tide, kind of the international coverage of Alabama football, doing a story about a reporter down in Mexico that really likes covering Alabama named Oscar. And he broadcasts in Mexico and all over Central America, and then talked to George over in the UK, and they do a college football podcast called the College Chaps Podcast, and how he kind of became an Alabama fan and interested in college football over in Europe, where they generally don't care about American football at all, but especially not college football. And then just kind of looking at some of Alabama's international players. And then towards the end of the year, I did kind of a feature on Tim Keenan and the way that he kind of transformed his body and his mind to get to a place where he'd only, I think, played in 2 games over his first 2 seasons at Alabama, redshirted his first year, had really let his weight get out of control, how he disciplined himself. He knew last year in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl that something needed to change. And he went through a transformation, and then this year he was a starter and a huge contributor for Alabama. As a defensive tackle, his stats maybe aren't eye-popping, but if you go back and look at some of the highlights from the Michigan game, the way he plugs the hole up front is he was a big contributor for the Crimson Tide. And so it was really fun to get to talk to him and his family, and he was super humble throughout the whole process. And so I enjoyed getting to write that story.
So the Rose Bowl game ends on January 1st, and almost immediately right after, the offseason news cycle really starts for this team, especially with how things are in college football these days, with the transfer portal declaring for the NFL draft. Kind of looking at Alabama football roster management, has much surprised you over the last week and a half about who may be staying, who may be going for the Crimson Tide?
I think there's a couple portal guys that are going to be a little bit surprising, just because of who Alabama was going to lose to the NFL, guys that probably would have had the chance to step up and be starters next year, like a guy like Christian Story, a guy like Earl Little. Those are also guys in the secondary that had told people at media day at the Rose Bowl that they were going to come back next year. You look at a guy like Terrence Ferguson that would have probably had a chance to be a starter along the offensive line. But other than that, a lot of these guys aren't necessarily huge surprises. They're probably going to find better fits or better opportunities at other schools. Maybe weren't ever going to see the field at Alabama. And it's just the way college football is now. The way the portal is that you can transfer and play immediately, the way NIL is. And so, and really, if you look at this Alabama football team this year, they stayed relatively healthy. There wasn't a lot of season-ending injuries. There weren't any position groups decimated like in 2021 when the running backs by the end of the year were down to, the fourth string, when outside linebackers, when Chris Allen, got hurt in the first game. Then you had Drew Sanders get hurt, and that's why Dallas Turner played a lot as a freshman, because the guys ahead of him got hurt. And this year you just didn't really have that. So a lot of the younger guys didn't see the field, and so they want to go somewhere where they will see the field. And I think that's mainly what we've seen so far. And then NFL wise, I think all the guys that you expected to go went. I think some fans were kind of holding out some hope for Terrion, but a guy that's projected to be in the first round, Nick Saban's almost always going to tell the guy to go. Of course, they would welcome him back, but the type of money he can make as a first round draft pick far exceeds anything he could make in NIL, even though Terrion was pretty popular in NIL with the Lank shirts and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think there's been any huge surprises NFL wise either.
Another team you cover is now starting its season, and that is the Alabama Gymnastics team. Great performance this past week in Las Vegas at the Mean Girls Super 16. Let's first of all just talk about what's different for Ashley Johnston and the Crimson Tide Gymnastics team in year two versus what we saw last year in her first season.
Yeah, I mean, really, as far as what they lost from last year, it's not much. Really, I think Shalyn Olsen is the only main contributor they lost from that team last year, and she had no eligibility left. But there are some new faces. There's one transfer and 3 freshmen, and we saw in the meet on Saturday the transfer from Pitt did one routine. I can't remember off the top of my head which it was, and then 2 of the freshmen competed in a couple of routines, Jamison Sears and Chloe LaCourcier. And so and they scored well. They did really well in their first meet. And so I think what's different with this team is when we talked to them in the preseason, they're very bold, and that their goal is to win a national championship. Makarri Doggette, the 5th year, said, I mean, their goal is to go undefeated. Their goal is to win the SEC regular season, SEC title, and to win a national title. And a lot of times teams can kind of shy away from saying those type of things in preseason. But then we talked to the gymnast first and then Ashley Johnson after, and she said that that's what's different about the team is they're not shying away from that. They've talked this offseason about what they need to do to get there. And Saturday was a great first step to that.
It really was. So the Crimson Tide will be at home coming up this week against Missouri. We know that Friday Night Heights always a lot of fun at Coleman Coliseum. What should fans expect for the first home meet coming up later this week on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, gymnastics is truly one of the most entertaining sports to go watch. It's one of the most family friendly. The people at Alabama do a great job getting the whole family involved, lots of young kids, and so it's an exciting time at Coleman. But as far as on the mat, Alabama scored over 197 in week 1 Saturday in Las Vegas for the first time since 2014. And I think that's going to be something they're going to try to do again at home. You generally in collegiate gymnastics get scored higher, better at home. It's just the way it is. And so that was a neutral site meet, and they still scored that well. So I think you're going to want to see if they can hit that 197 mark again. There might be, honestly, sometimes I feel like there can be a little more nerves performing at home in front of that whole crowd, even though they're with you, but it's still they're all watching me, you know? And so, last week was relatively mistake free for Alabama. No major mistakes. They had one fall on beam that they were able to drop the score because everyone else hit their routines. And so, this week their score could be lower if they end up having to count a fall. But I was really impressed on Saturday with kind of the stamina the gymnasts already showed in the first meet, because sometimes it takes time for them to kind of work up their bodies. You see a lot of girls falling on floor or falling on beam because they just haven't built up that competition stamina yet. Because I think from what I know, I have no gymnastics experience, but from talking to the coaches and gymnasts over the years, is I think they don't try and go full out a ton leading up to meets, just because gymnastics is such a taxing sport on their bodies. And so, but I was really impressed with what I saw on Saturday in that area, and a lot of them already look competition ready. I think Alabama's going to continue to build up the difficulties in some of the routines. On Saturday, I think they did 4 of 6 vaults were 10-0 start values. I'm sure by the end of the year they'll want it to be all 6, but I think on Friday night in Coleman we'll still probably only see 4. But I think it should be an exciting meet. I think maybe we'll see a little bit different lineups because they like to change things up, get some new girls some opportunities to see what they can prove at home. And I think it'll be a good meet for the Crimson Tide.
We'll look forward to that coming up on Friday, and as well as your coverage coming up all throughout the gymnastics season. And speaking of coverage, what should fans expect not only from you, but the rest of the BamaCentral team over the next few weeks?
Yeah, we'll be a lot of time spent in Coleman with gymnastics and men's basketball. We'll have a lot of men's basketball coverage with Blake Byler. He'll be in Starkville this weekend. He'll be going to most of the road games this year. We'll also have any football news coverage, things that'll be coming up over the next couple of weeks. You'll start having NFL news. You'll start having, pro days, combines, things like that. And then, of course, the gymnastics meets every week. And so, and then really before you know it, we're, I think, just about a month away from softball and baseball starting. And then that just adds it in. The month of February gets a little crazy when that's all going on too, with gymnastics and basketball, but it's an exciting time of year.
It really is. Well, you guys do a great job covering the Crimson Tide. Katie, thank you so much for your time with us here this week on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We look forward to having you on again down the road. Thank you again.
Thanks, Roger.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and make sure you join us for a weekend of good times, unforgettable entertainment, and 3 wide, high-speed thrills all race long. That's what NASCAR Spring Weekend in Atlanta is all about, and the best way to experience it is at the track. Don't miss the Ambetter Health 400 weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway with 3 days of racing thrills, February 23rd to the 25th. Atlanta is the hottest ticket in NASCAR, so don't wait. Get yours now at atlantamotorspeedway.com. Thanks to Katie Windham for her time joining us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And I know a lot of you were tuned in to the Courtside Cam on Tuesday here on the network for Chris Stewart and Brian Passing's call of Alabama's win against South Carolina. Some maybe tense moments in the first half, some really fun moments in the second half as Alabama got its second win to start conference play. Here's a look at our Courtside Cam highlights presented by NASCAR from Tuesday night's win against South Carolina.
Mark to the elbow, Pringle the kick into the corner to Grant. One more Estrada, 3-ball bottom. Left side, Sears, 3, bottom, and that helps the cause. Bama with the basketball. Sears right of the circle, deep 3, bottom. Rebounded by the Tide, and here comes Bama the other way. Griffin, top of the arc, 3 for the lead, bottom. Timeout, South Carolina. Estrada on the wing to Sears, 3 for the Tide, bottom.
And rhythm coming from the left wing to the top of the key, able to catch it. Nice pass from Aaron Estrada. Alabama starting to knock down some threes, 5 for 11 from deep.
Fires a pass into the corner to Sears. 3 seconds, 2, 1. The follow-away jumper. It's nothing but the bottom of the sack as the shot clock expires.
That's the set offense of we've got Mark Sears and you don't.
Into the left corner, Johnson catch and shoot, short on the 3. Good defense by Griffin, who's got the ball, brings it front court, finds Reitzel, right wing 3, bottom. Latrell Reitzel knocks home the bank first 3-pointer. Aaron driving underneath, needs help, finds Nelson, hands it off to Sears, deep 3, near side, bottom. Not tough to find, just look for the vapor trail. That's where Mark is. Picked up by Sears. Mark getting it front court. Throws a lob to Pringle for the play.
Great job defensively, and Rowland Griffin sprinting the court. Mark Sears, who's been hot from 3, recognizes it Beautiful lob pass in the alley-oop throwdown by Griffin.
Johnson on the drive, blocked by Pringle, picked up by Estrada. Aaron driving ahead, gives it off to Sears. Mark down the lane, gets bumped, no whistle. Leaves it for Estrada, near wing 3. Mark says, give me a screen. Nelson says, here it comes. Sears on the drive, down the lane, tough floater, got it. Wow, his world, we're just living in it tonight. Mark Sears gets it to drop, and Bama leads by 11. Mack on the other end, charge. 12 on the shot clock, Nelson to Sears at 10. Sears driving the lane at 9, into the corner, Estrada at 7. Steps back at 5, 3 is at the bottom from the left wing, and Alabama pushes the lead to 14. Here's Reitzel for the trailer. Stevenson, 3, bottom. Jaron Stevenson, left side, Diabate. Mo on the drive, kicks it in the corner. Walters for 3.
Don't give him 2 chances.
Sears off of an attempted screen, trying to shake free, gets into the lane, spins, puts it off the glass, counted, and he is fouled.
Oh my goodness, what a play from Mark Sears.
Pringle with it, flips it to Sears, catch and shoot 3, and I'd have been shocked if it didn't go in.
26 now for Mark Sears. Didn't get back on defense, and Nato's not happy with that possession.
Mark Sears doing Mark Sears things tonight. He's got 29. Another bank first three-pointer from Mark. Says, I want to clear out. He gets one. Gray defending him. Now Walters, near side, 3, bottom.
Defensive mistake by South Carolina, leaving Sam Walters all by himself. That was going to be a clear out for Mark Sears, but Sears recognized it, found Walters in rhythm, who knocks it down.
And Mark Sears will get a great round of applause as he exits, and boy, does he deserve it. 31 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, and only 2 turnovers in 36 minutes of action. In the corner, catch and shoot, 3-ball up and good from Davin Cosby Jr. Another bank first 3 for Alabama. That is the Tide's 15th of the night on 33 tries. Kai Spears out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Sharnowski out of Elgin, Illinois. 2 walk-ons on the floor right now for Alabama. Inbounds to Spears, the half does end, but it's the ball game as well. Crimson Tide a winner, 74-37, and strike up the band. Second half by Nate Oates, Alabama Crimson Tide. They hold South Carolina to just 16% shooting from the arc, 22% overall, and Alabama wins it by a final of 74-47.
NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing at a track that's built to thrill you all weekend long. It's the hottest ticket in NASCAR, and it's only at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Sticking with men's basketball for a moment, Sam Walters, some great 3-pointers for the Crimson Tide, not only in that game against South Carolina, Vanderbilt game as well. He's off to a terrific start as only a freshman here at the University of Alabama. On Monday's edition of Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance at Baumhauer's, Chris Stewart had a chance to catch up with Sam Walters and get to know the freshman a little bit more, as he's already making quite an impact for the Crimson Tide.
Joined now by Sam Walters. Stand out for the Alabama men's basketball team, freshman out of the Villages, Florida. And I got the explanation from your mom about what the Villages, where the Villages actually is.
Yeah, so the Villages, like as a whole, is a retirement community. So that's like where my high school is. But I actually live like right down the road in like a family area.
A non-retirement area.
Non-retirement
area. But it's like between Jacksonville and where?
It's like Orlando and Tampa, that kind of area. Yeah.
Good deal. Good place to be. We're so glad Tuscaloosa is where you chose to be, though, to play college basketball. You had a chance to play anywhere, but things really took off, it seemed, for you, Sam, after you had committed to the Tide or signed with Alabama. was part of that, I know it's got to be development and things start to click as you get a little older, but also having the pressure of recruiting off of you, did that have a lot to do with it?
Yeah, that was part of the reason I decided to commit at the time, because I was the first person in our recruiting class to commit. I felt like I knew what school I wanted to go to. This is the perfect fit for me. And I was talking with my people, and I decided, why would I wait to go to a school that I wanted to go to? So it was good because like you said, the pressure of recruiting and my coaches calling me every day, texting me was off, and I knew what system I was going into next year. So I was excited to get ready for that.
I'm not asking you to name any names, but with the transfer portal and the way things go, does that truly ever stop anymore? I mean, I know it. The recruiting, I know it lessens, but do you occasionally get phone calls? And again, I'm not calling any names. I'm just curious.
No, I actually don't.
That's good.
I've heard of people that do, but I don't.
Yeah,
personally.
Good, because we don't want you going anywhere.
No, I love it here.
We're glad you do. We love having you here. This team, I mean, you guys are still trying to learn everybody. You got 9 new players, but of the 3 veterans that are back, none of them has been here more than now a year and a half, I guess. So how do you build chemistry when guys are still trying to learn each other's name? And I'm kidding when I say that, but it's not too far off.
No, I mean, this is, like I tell everybody, one of my favorite teams I ever played on. Our chemistry is really good. We hang out all the time off the court. We go eat, do certain stuff like that. We went bowling before, so we hang out all the time off the court. And then we're together a lot all day as well since summer. Even when we had new guys come in, they easily gelled with groups of our team. They easily gelled with all of us. So this is one of my favorite teams I've ever played on off the court and on the court as well. So it's been good all around, and we have some good chemistry.
What surprised you, if anything, about being at the University of Alabama? I know it's maybe a tough one to ask because you ain't been here a full year yet, but anything that surprised you or maybe even exceeded expectations that you had for the place?
Yeah, I think the main thing was just how comfortable I felt already. People, I didn't know how it was going to be. Obviously, I came on my visits, but you never know how a place until you've actually been there.
Right.
And ever since I've been here, the whole community's been super warming, making me feel comfortable. So now Tuscaloosa feels like home.
Last thing, you've got a roster that you knew was talented, a team you knew was good. You're trying to get it all pieced together, though, but it's not easy when you're playing 2 teams in a week that have been number 1 in the country the week prior to you facing them. It's been a brutal stretch, and yet you've shown improvement, gotten better, and been able to get some wins put together after, especially that tough 3-game stretch. Have you been able to do that? Have you been able to bond and get this team in a spot now where you're going into SEC play off of 1 win and hoping to get another and build confidence going forward?
Yeah, we've just been watching a lot of film, getting better in practice every day. We push each other every day in practice. So in my opinion, the practices are harder than the games just because we're such a talented team and we really get after it. So watching a lot of film individually and together as a group, we have a really hardworking team, so everyone's just constantly getting better. So that's really the main reason we've been getting better, and we're going to continue to build momentum going into SEC play in the rest of the year.
Sam, it's great to see you. We appreciate you coming by. Have you had a chance to eat yet?
I did eat right before I got here, but I'm gonna eat a lot more.
Again, I was going to say, you're a college athlete. You can eat more than once. We're not surprised by that fact at all. Thanks for the time. Great to see you.
I appreciate you.
Sam Walters, kind enough to join us here on Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and don't miss a weekend of good times, unforgettable entertainment, and 3 wide high-speed thrills all race long. Don't miss the Ambetter Health 400 weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway with 3 days of racing thrills all the way from February 23rd to the 20th. Well, Hey Coach certainly was busy on Monday night as Chris Stewart not only had a chance to visit with Sam Walters and also Nate Oates from men's basketball, but with gymnastics. A lot to talk about after the great win in Las Vegas. Here's the best of some of our gymnastics guests from Monday night at Hey Coach at Baumhauer's.
Pleased to welcome in the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Coach Ashley Johnson. Great weekend for Bama Gymnastics, and obviously the reaction from the crowd here. pretty special when you go off, start things the way you did in Las Vegas.
That's
Always
right.
good to win in Vegas.
Absolutely. Yeah, appreciate being on. And we've got some of our team members in the crowd, so it's fun to just get to celebrate along with them. And we had a great time, a really good competition, and we're proud of the way that our ladies started off and excited to continue on this journey.
8th in the country going into the meet. I've got a feeling that when the next rankings come out, you'll be a little higher as you beat number 5 UCLA, number 7 Cal, and number 17 Auburn. But the score itself is really, that's part of gymnastics. It's nice to win, but it's really about your score in terms of how you're compared around the country. So it looks like that was very strong.
Yeah, it was a strong start for us. I think right now it looks like we're number 4 in the country. So this upcoming Friday, it's going to be a number 3 versus number 4 match. And so it's going to be really exciting, really good competition. And we're just focusing on the things that we can control, which is hitting our routines, sticking landings, just really trying to tweak the fine-tuned details to make sure that we maximize our scoring potential.
For your student athletes, when you go cross country and you come back, how do you deal with that? How does that affect your preparation?
Well, we talk a lot about adaptability, and I think that's really kind of the make or break element when it comes to championship season. And so we strategically started in Las Vegas on the road, having to make a bigger trip, adjust to, a different climate. We're in the desert. We've got to hydrate more, adjusting to competing on a podium, which is like competing up on a stage. And so there was a lot of different elements that we had to adapt to, and I think it's important to go ahead and start strong and put yourself in a position that you want to be at a national championship in April. And so I'm proud of the way that our team adjusted. They were able to make the tweaks necessary to execute and do a really great job.
What does it do for your squad to have that type of success out of the gate, though? Because that's not just winning. It's not just posting a good score. You beat quality teams in order to win as you did.
It's a huge confidence booster for this team. They've worked really, really hard this preseason, and not just gymnastically, but they've worked really hard on their culture. They've worked really hard on just holding each other accountable to be able to compete at the highest level. And so to come out with the win out of the gate right away was a confidence builder. It was just validation that they're doing the right things and motivation to keep going.
We've got 2 young ladies that'll be coming up in a few moments. I want to get some thoughts from you about them, though, before we hear from them. Makarri, Doggette, All-American, super senior, as they're referred to now, in her final year of competition, and she's doing so at Alabama. Tell us about this young lady.
Makarri is one of those people that she sets the tone of the room that she's in. And I talk a lot about being a thermostat or a thermometer. And Makarri is one of those people that she sets the temperature. And when she walks into the room, the energy is high and people rise to that level. And so to have a leader like that can set the tone at such a high level, it's a trickle effect throughout the team. It helps everybody be better. It helps everybody match that level of energy and just really put on a show.
Gabby Gladieux, younger, sophomore, young lady who's had a couple of great performances in Vegas.
Absolutely, and she had a great freshman year as well. She was an SEC vault champion last year, right out of the gate, and so she has such a dynamic presence on this team. I would say she's the gamer. She's the one that just thrives and is excited about those last-minute clutch performances where the heat is cranked up, and she knows how to step into those and compete. And that's on the gymnastics floor. That's playing spike ball. That's whatever she is in. She is a gamer, and she is going to do whatever it takes to win.
Don't compete with her unless you're really ready to.
No way. I wouldn't suggest that for anybody.
Okay. All right. So you've got Big Al's birthday this weekend. You got Missouri, most importantly, but it's Big Al's birthday. You've got season tickets still available, and a lot going on Friday. So talk to us about that and what it means to be able to come back home and compete in front of such a great fan base.
We have an exciting matchup on Friday. Not only is it our first home meet, but like you said, it's Big Al's birthday, so it's always a really fun event for families and kids to be able to come out. We've also expanded our student section this year, and so those of our fans that have been to men's basketball before, the student section is going to look the same as that. And so we're really hoping to create just high energy, a really exciting atmosphere. We've always done that for years and years. I think it's what our program has has been known for, but we're looking to even crank that up a notch. And so I encourage our fans or supporters to buy their tickets. They can go to rolltide.com for that, and fill the stands. You know, last year we were able to sell out Coleman Coliseum, and there is no better experience than getting to compete in front of that many people, that many just fans, supporters, family that are screaming our names and just excited to be along for the ride. It's such a difference maker, and I expect this to be a close meet that's going to come down to the last couple of routines and the crowd's energy. It truly helps push us over the edge many times, and so we're excited, we're ready, this team's prepared, and we're looking forward to a great performance.
We're looking forward to seeing the performance this weekend. We're looking forward to talking to a couple of your student athletes in a moment. We always appreciate your time. Great to see you again, Coach.
Thanks so much. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Coach Ashley Johnston. We start things off with Makarri Doggette, who's an All-American, super senior in her final year as an Alabama gymnast. Has that part sunk in yet? Final year?
No, it has not. I don't know if it'll ever sink in, you know.
It's tough to think about the finish line and yet take care of today at the same time, isn't it?
Yes. But we talk a lot about, just staying in the moment and enjoying everything that we are, and, just staying present and enjoying everything that we got. So I'm excited.
How old were you when you got your first gymnastics lesson, you first walked in the gym?
2. I was 2, yeah.
Well, okay. Never mind then. I was going to say, I feel like you just got started. That's not the case. You've been at this a while.
Yeah.
That's got to be unbelievable to think of 2-year-old.
Yeah.
2-year-old Makarri now getting ready for senior year.
Yeah. Second senior year.
Second senior, right. Does it help you this year, having gone through that a year ago?
Oh, yeah. I think going through everything that happened last year, it was a big adjustment, but it was the best thing that could have happened. And for me, I don't know. I've just really learned a lot about myself in such a short amount of time, and using that to the best of my ability this year is really helping me and my team. And just being better people and just, helping each other out is just the main thing that we've really been focusing on.
It's not bad starting off in Vegas and getting a win.
Yeah.
Which is better, going to Vegas or getting the win? I know the answer is getting the win, but it's pretty special when you do both, right?
Right, yeah. We talked a lot about, like I said, just being in the moment, but we've wanted to embrace calm confidence and just going in there knowing what to do and handling our job, and just not worrying about the outcome and just doing what we know how to do every day in the gym. And it transferred, and we're really excited, and it's a great start.
I would imagine so, and to come back home as you're going to do this weekend, and we talked about it, tickets available at rolltide.com, taking on Missouri this weekend, this Friday night, which is because they've done a great job of marketing that within the SEC, the Friday Night Heights and everything involved with that, and you know what's going on around the league as you have that competition there. What does it feel like to be able to come back home and compete in front of a fan base such as the one you have at Alabama?
Yeah. Last year I really did think that I was going to be done. So just to have the opportunity to come back and to, engage with our fans, and that's really the best part, is just looking up and seeing everybody supporting us. They've become our family. So it's really important, and it means a lot to us to have them there and supporting us, because we want to support them as much as they support us. So, yeah.
Last thing, competing for a coach, but also a coach who literally has been where you are,
right?
Such as Coach Johnston. She's been an Alabama gymnast.
Yes.
So how does that help in terms of knowing that you're talking to a coach who truly understands where you are?
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing, especially in our sport, is it's hard for people to understand what we're going through, or why we can't, stick something.
Right.
It's easy to turn to Ashley, and just she knows where we're coming from, and she always has the best answers, because like you said, it's not often when you have a coach that literally was where you were at. So just to have that, that anchor, and just that person that you can go to and know that you're getting the answers that is going to help you in the best way possible. And as far as gymnastics, just in life, she gives us the best life advice, and in and out of the gym. It's just super important to be a good human, and it's easy to go to Ashley for that advice, because she is such a good human, and we look up to her so much. And very excited that I get another year with her, because I was sad I was going to get 1 year with her, but now I get another one. So yeah, just the opportunity to have that and have her as, you know, my second mom is just amazing.
That part hurt, though. Ashley hearing second mom, you know, from the college kid. I know I'm way older than you, but I know that stung just a little bit. Her heart was in the right place, though. Makarri, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck to you. Congratulations on all the success so far.
Thank you.
Makarri Doggette, we're going to let her tag out with teammate Gabby Gladieux. And for a moment, all right, our next performer up on stage here is Gabby Gladieux. Great to have you with us. The sophomore had a 9.975 on floor. First individual career title on floor. Momentum coming back home.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. And look, for those like myself who have seen gymnastics, understand just enough to be dangerous, I know what momentum can be like in other sports. But for gymnastics, any different than any other competition? Does it carry over from one event, 1 week to the next?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it carries over in the meet, but it's also 1 week to the next. This meet, I think we started out, and it shows how much potential and how much depth this team has. You know, we pulled out a win, but I think that we still have so much more to give, and that we're tremendously dangerous, and that we can compete against the best. So I'm excited to see what's next.
When you're in the SEC week in and week out, it's always tough. You're competing against the best. But when you go and compete away from home, another time zone, another part of the country, and you're competing against national programs like UCLA and Cal, in addition to one such as Auburn, what does that mean to win an event? And first of all, it's got the best name of all, the Mean Girls Super 16 Gymnastics Championship, so that's pretty special as well.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, being away from your home and your home crowd is obviously difficult, but I think we really focused on, you know, the Bama bubble and staying together. And I think we created our own energy. We created our own momentum, which is a big staple this year. And that's what Ashley has, you know, preached about a lot, is creating our own momentum and not letting the meet kind of warm us up, you know, creating that staple so we make the other teams look, and we kind of intimidate the other teams by how much fun and how much energy we bring instantly to the floor.
Little different venue, Orleans Arena, where you're competing literally inside the hotel, casino, everything. You're walking through. You hear all the dings, the whistles, the bright lights. Was that your first trip to Vegas? Had you experienced that before?
No, actually, I've been to Vegas multiple times. This is my first.
Not playing her in cards. Okay, go ahead.
This was my first meet in Vegas, but it was also special for me because a lot of my family I haven't seen was able to make it out there. But yeah, the environment was fun. You know, being in Vegas is obviously fun, but pulling out a win in Vegas was cherry on top.
Cherry on top. Well, look, we know you got a lot more coming up, but I do want to get a thought from you before we go to come back home and knowing, trusting you're going to have another great crowd as you normally have at Coleman Coliseum.
The crowd at Coleman, like Makarri said, is our family. I mean, they bring the energy, and that helps us with our momentum. And, you know, just knowing that you have thousands of fans that have your back, thousands of fans screaming your name, that's what helps us carry our speed from one event to the next. So I'm so excited to see how many people come out. Remember to grab your tickets at rolltide.com because it's going to be a top 5 matchup, and you're going to see some pretty great gymnastics.
Great job on the marketing as well. What's the major?
Criminology.
Oh. Not playing her in cards and not going to get on her bad side either. We got it all figured out. Gabby, thanks so much. We appreciate the time. Good to see you. Gabby Gladieux with us here from the Alabama Gymnastics program.
I mentioned earlier, I'm already on the road with women's basketball as we're getting set for tonight's game against the Georgia Lady Bulldogs, but you have to go back to Sunday to a great win for Alabama. Its first in SEC play and really a good bounce-back victory. The Crimson Tide fell last Thursday to Ole Miss by 10 points. Didn't have quite the offensive game that Alabama wanted, but 79 points against Missouri certainly was good to see in the Sunday win for the Crimson Tide at Mizzou Arena. After the ball game was over, head coach Christy Curry had a chance to join me on the radio. Here's that conversation from a winning Sunday in Columbia, Missouri.
We're joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Christy Curry. And Coach, congratulations on this win. How proud of you are you of this basketball team?
Just so proud of our team. You know, a huge bounce back response. Showed a lot of toughness today to come into a great environment with a huge crowd and, you know, to respond the way we did and to be tied at half and come back out and get some stops and get off to a good start. I thought we got off to a good start at the beginning of the third and the beginning of the first.
We really saw that, starting with Sarah Ashley Barker, red hot, knocking down her first 6 shots of this game.
Just I mean, toughness, just a will to win, and I thought it fed to everybody else. Unbelievable effort by her today, and I thought Aaliyah, Jess, just our entire team, you know, we had a lot of people step up at critical times and, you know, make some stops. Big play by Carly there down the stretch, too. I mean, unbelievable effort by our entire team today, so I'm really proud of them.
You got to be proud of Aaliyah Nye again. Did not score last ball game against Ole Miss. Only took 4 shots, but she took more than that today and knocked down, I believe, 6 3-pointers.
Well, I thought we did a much better job of playing off 2 feet and, you know, getting by our first defender and drawing some help and finding her and getting her some open looks. And we just don't want her to hesitate. Not only that, but I thought she really tried to get in there and make some hustle play rebounds and showed a lot of toughness in some other areas and made some great press. I thought she found SA a couple times early in the game, you know, off them really crowding her and playing off 2 feet, and did a really good job of making some open passes as well as open looks.
And then slowing down Missouri's offense, that can be tough to do. We saw how good they were in the second quarter, but, I mean, in the second half, they didn't have their normal offense, it seems.
No, man, we had to come back out and do a better job than we were doing and making it really hard, and I thought our kids did a really good job of that. And you know, it's really hard because they all shoot the three so well, and but I loved our tenacity defensively as an entire group today. And we had a lot of people off the bench, may not show up in the stat sheet, but did a lot of things for us with a lot of hustle plays and just being in the right spot defensively.
Really love seeing that for the Crimson Tide as Alabama again earns the win 79-64. Up next, another road trip getting to go to Athens, Georgia. What needs to happen on Thursday for your team?
Well, you know, it's been an interesting day, I think, across our league. A lot of folks that had adversity or had success, maybe it went the other way today. So it's going to be a will to win in Athens on Thursday, and a really good team that's going to zone you, going to man you. Javen Nicholson is playing as well as anybody in the league. You know, they had a tough day today. We had a really good day today, but our response has to be more consistent, and so we need to come out with a consistent response and be ready to go. We know we're going to face a really good defensive team, and we have to make some shots and stay together on the road.
Anytime we win on the road, we like, of course, thinking of Hannah Cook. We like thinking of Andy's Frozen Custard. We head there next.
We do. I think we're heading somewhere. I'm just so proud of this team today, and I'm really happy that, you know, we found a way to bounce back.
Coach, thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
A winning Sunday for Alabama women's basketball. We're hoping tonight is a winning Thursday as well on the road for the Crimson Tide as Alabama women's basketball will start our Wickles Weekend update. We'll take a look at what's coming up all across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Again, thanks to our friends at Wickles Pickles. Find out more at WicklesPickles.com. Let's see what's coming up across the network. Starting at 5:55, we'll have our radio coverage live from Athens, Georgia. Alabama women's basketball against the Georgia Lady Bulldogs. Tip-off at 6 p.m. from Segment Coliseum. Coming up on Saturday, men's basketball making the short trip to Starkville to take on Mississippi State. Radio airtime is at 6:30 for that 7:30 p.m. tip-off. Then the next day, Crimson Tide women's basketball back at home for the first of 2 straight home games. First up, the Arkansas Razorbacks at 2 p.m. Radio coverage starting at 1:55 p.m. We will have a courtside cam presented by NASCAR for that game as well. And then a video stream available on Monday night, as well as our full radio broadcast in the Varsity Network app for Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance. Nate Oates will be at Baumhauer's with Chris Stewart, talking about hopefully another Crimson Tide victory. Then coming up on Tuesday, the men's team back at home, same time as this past Tuesday. It'll be Alabama against Missouri at 6 p.m. Red Panda will perform at halftime, and we'll have our radio coverage start at 5:55 across the network. And don't forget, we'll also have a Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR headed your way as well next Thursday at 2 p.m. before Alabama women's basketball will take on the LSU Tigers at an 8 p.m. tip-off on Thursday. But all of that coming up. That's our upcoming schedule presented by Wickles Pickles. That's going to wrap up this busy edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guest, Katie Windham, at the very top of the show, and then everybody that joined Chris Stewart at Baumhauer's Victory Grill as well during Hey Coach, plus Christy Curry after the women's game against Missouri this past Sunday. Thanks to Ethan Carabin. He put this entire show together, especially me on the road. Great work by Ethan putting all of this together. Thanks to all of you as well for watching what's been a very fun edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We look forward to hopefully many more wins for Alabama Gymnastics, men's and women's basketball coming up before our show next week. But until then, this is Roger Hoover signing off. Again, thank you for watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roll Tide, everyone.